Purok San Roque is just one of the many puroks in Barangay Tangog, Bacolod City, located in the southern part of the island and houses a few hundreds of people whose main source of living was once fishing. This is mainly because the purok is just located very near the sea, just a short walking distance from where I personally live. That also explains why most of the products sold in the Purok's exclusive wet market are mostly seafood, and no week pass by that no fish is served on the tables of its residents during supper. I can personally say that San Roque is a fusion of two worlds. One side is highly urbanized, with people living in comfortable and modern houses, sustaining their everyday needs, providing for their own families with a job enough to feed the household at least 3 times a day. Yet the other side is much different. Those who live especially near the sea are families who are usually suffering financially, living off very poor living conditions, with children who are often unable to get proper education due to the financial incapacity of the parents to sustain their learning needs. The areas they live in are very much polluted with dirt and garbage littered everywhere due to the lack of proper waste disposal and segregation in the area. Many of these children suffer from sickness caused by the unhealthy living conditions, and unfortunately, there have been cases of deaths among children in the slums and squatters area, caused by infections that were not cured and detected early. In my 21 years in the Purok, I have seen the disparity between those who live in the urban areas and those who do not. The lack of government support slowed the development of the Purok, especially in terms of improving the roads and infrastructure in the area. 21 years in this Purok, and yet our roads have not been cemented nor repaired, proving how little the support the Purok gets from the barangay throughout the years. I conducted an interview with my dad, Mario Fernandez, an OFW who worked at a cruise company for 23 years, to compare and contrast the situation of our Purok from that of developed nations he has visited over the years. As an OFW who has seen developed countries outside the Philippines, how would you describe San Roque's economic status?
Ah, sa mga nakita ko sa ibang lugar, lalo sa mga developed dito sa ating Purok, San Roque, mga parang ito, I'm very saddened to say na napakalaki ang what ating lugar sa San Roque ay as an OFW, 20 years na ako dito sa lugar na ito. At yun pa rin, hanggang ngayon, ganun pa rin, walang pagbabago. Hindi man lang nasemento ang dalan, ang mga tao, hindi natutuluan kung ang himuon eksakto para manami ang lugar. Hindi pa kaya sa ibang lugar na napaka-limpyo, organized, ang tao, very aware sa kanilang surroundings na kailangan pangalagaan ang kaayusan, lalo na ang parilisan. Kaya ang mga sasabi ko sa mga developed countries ay maayos at malinis na lugar. Ikumpara mo sa mga hindi pa developed country, parehas ang Pilipinas, mga South America, pare-parehas, pare-parehas ang makita mo, hindi it maayos. So, para maging maayos, kailangan lahat mag-participate para sa kaayusan ng kalinisan ng isang lugar. Kung maayos sa isang lugar, pwede mong masabi na develop siya. Yun lang.
So what do you think are the top 3 issues here in our Purok?
Yun pa rin, yung kaayusan. Kasi nakikita ko, marami, makalat ang mga daan. Hindi nililinis. Pero kung ang lahat ng tao maglinis, maayos harating na lang yung ating lugar. Tapos, yun nga, ang mga tao, kailangan dapat ang mga tao dito magkaroon sila ng ownership sa kanilang mga tupad sa yung sa malapit sa kanilang bahay. Kaya sa tapat nila na hindi lang ang loob ng bahay ang nilinisin, hindi pati ang tapat. Tapos turuan ng mga bata na itapon ang basura sa tamang tapunan. Ang mga parents, hindi kasi siguro ang mga parents busy, hindi masikaso yung mga anak, hindi natuturuan ng maayos. Gawin, kaya naman, yung iba talagang hindi alam kung anong dapat gawin. Yun, dapat dito sa lugar natin, kahit paano, dapat ang daan maayos. Kasi kung umuulan, lubak, putik. Dapat yung maayos yung daan. Yung maayos na daan, maganda ang patutunan.
The situation in most areas of our country indeed is far from those in more developed countries. Our circumstances as a third world nation, with a problematic government and very poor living and financial conditions, has rendered most of the Filipino people helpless in times of great need. Even more so in the year 2020, when the biggest global health crisis hit the entire world. The outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic definitely posed huge effects on the lives of the Purok's residents. To understand this further, I conducted an interview with my cousin, Miss Chelsea Tedoco, a fellow resident and a business economics professor in University of St. LaSalle. As an economics professor, how would you assess the economic status of our Purok?
Looking at the certain parts of our Purok, hindi ko man mahambal that we are certainly or an absolutely poor gid nga Purok, because if you look at the other parts, especially ang lapit sa highway, there are also people who have huge houses and high income man niya. But looking at ang going na niya dito na yun sa may bye-bye sa seaside na lapit, so you can see that really in terms of the quality of life, it's very poor. People there are earning wages that are minimum wage lang, or kisa swerte na kung may income sila sa isang adlaw, kisa may araman days nga wala sila income, that they have to go to ma-fish pa sila sa dagat para may makaon sila, or malakat sila somewhere where they can find food. So when we talk about the economic status gid sa aton nga Purok, do 50-50 siguro, very poor, 50% are average man ang ilang standard of living.
So what are the biggest changes after the outbreak of the pandemic?
Looking at the changes, I can say that there are positive changes at the same time, may man negative changes. There's a positive change in terms of the awareness of people and their, what we call this, their avoidance bala to acquire COVID. So, sa una, if you notice, mga tao, dito, wala sila pakialam, no? Wala sila gapati sa COVID, but as the case rose over the months nga nagpass, no, somehow makita ko nga they become vigilant kag nagahalong nagid sila kay syempre hindi man sila gusto magmasakit, knowing full well that kung magka-COVID kay hindi gid lahog-lahog ang gasto, and they also know that most or some members of our community here sa San Roque nagkalamatay gid because of COVID. In terms of the negative changes, if you look at the standard of living of people, kadamo gid sang mga taga San Roque nga nawala na obra, even ang mga businesses din apektuhan, just like ang mga boarding houses diri lapit sa aton, most of them sa una before the pandemic puno gina sila tanan, mubuday gid mangita sang boarding house nga pwede mo ma-rent. But as I was observing, especially diri sa ato, ng mga boarding house, di damo na bakante, daw people nga nagapangita sang una, sa mga ilistara, nag-amat-amat na sila balik sa ilang mga lugar, that somehow affected ang siguro, ang income man sa mga gaparent sang houses. At the same time, ang income man sa mga tao nga nag-start up sang business because of the increasing number of people nga transfer di sa aton, so as you can see, kadamo dis tao sa mga gabaligya sa mga sudan, kanon, so do kadamo gid. But with the decrease na sang mga tao nga nagbalik naman sila, naguntat sila obra, so they had no choice but to go back to their original naman yung mga ilistaran. So may man gid siya sang negative effect.
So, what are the top 3 problems here in our Purok?
If I look at our community, number 1, very striking problem is of course poverty. Although as what we have said earlier, kagina nga hindi man tanan, di pigado, some have high income man, but most of the people who are living sa slum na yung area, do ka pigado gid sa ila, more so sa pandemic, gahulat lang sila sang ayuda from the government. And sad to say, most of the people there are beneficiaries of 4Ps, and I can see nga though sometimes nagasalig na lang sila bala, though wala na sila nagapangita way to get other sources of income, they will just wait for the 4Ps. So siguro aside from poverty, it's also about I can say ignorance kag ang wala initiative ang mga tao nga mangita pagit other sources of income, do contented na sila with what the government has to provide to them. Second, siguro alongside with poverty is of course unemployment. Kadamo isang tao nga nawad-an obra, more so I even experienced that I even lost work during the pandemic, considering that I'm a part-time faculty sa Lasal, and for the duration of April, May, June, July, I only went back to work by August. So, I'm also one of the victims of unemployment, and somehow I find myself lucky because I was still able to go back to my work, but some people here wala na gid sila yakabalik sa ilang obra, to the point that nag-resort na lang sila nga mag-start sa ilang small businesses, but if you look at it, somehow ang duration sang ilang business kadasig lang katama, though nag-peak siya, tapos after like let's say 1 month or 2 months nagtapos naman siya dayon. And the third one is I think illiteracy, because of illiteracy there exists increasing population. Mga tao di siguro hindi taman mahambal kung wala sila TV, but wala lang gid sila siguro na educate as to what is the importance of birth control, especially family planning, especially nga if you look at dito sa mga areas dito sa punta, kadamo gid sang families nga ang ilang the family size is more than 8 or 5 kabilog ila children plus pang ilang parents plus ang child pa sa ilang mga bata naman, so most of the families here are extended family, and I can say that kung nagsugod sa ilay ang mga grandparents nga wala man sila yan na-educate nga how education is important, then doon nag-pass on na siya to the point nga even the younger generation, third generation, fourth generation nila wala man dyan po naghatag importance sa education. And sad to say, this illiteracy no nag-stem out man ni siya as poverty, and at the same time iban pagid nga mga major problems diri sa aton nga community.
Indeed, poverty became a bigger issue when the health crisis ensued. More people lost their jobs. More families struggled to put food on their tables. More opportunities were lost as people were forced to stay in the safety of their homes. The density of the purok was a huge threat to the spread of the virus, as homes were closely placed next to each other, and physical contact was almost hard to do away with. With more people suffering from financial issues during the pandemic, San Roque saw the birth of more small businesses and sidelines from various families and individuals in the purok. From milk tea shops, street food, to online selling, residents became resilient and resourceful in order to sustain and provide for their daily needs.
San Roque has been my home since forever. Admittedly, it is not perfect, but it is where my values were molded and where I experienced happiness, pains, and the successes of life, and I wouldn't trade it for anywhere else. It is where my eyes were opened to the reality of inequality and disparity, and after years of teaching as a church catechist in our community, I have witnessed the struggles of many families, especially children in our area. As it is my home, I just hope that the future of our purok is brighter. One that promotes equal opportunities for all, easy access to education for all children. One that is cleaner and healthier for everyone to live in. A purok that promotes inclusive and holistic growth for everyone, where every individual participates and helps each other improve and prosper. As we are going through the difficulties of being in a pandemic, as much as we are resilient as a purok, I just hope that the government and our officials realize that there are still more people in need of help, and that there are still a lot in need of improvement and aid, and that more people will just suffer if we continue to be neglected. As a future economist, I am saddened that there are so many communities in our country that suffer from the same issue, poverty. And I feel that it is high time, it always is, to start conversations about this.